Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor and I am your host, and I am not God. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of a microphone, hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast, which is what you're listening to right now, is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. Where have you seen divinity? Where are you seeing divinity? Are you looking for it? I hope so. Because if you look for it, the one thing I can promise you in life is that you will find it. If you look for it, you will find it. I actually feel very 100% confident in saying that. I won't promise a lot of things, but that I will promise. Okay, here's what I'd like to talk about today. Do you feel like, and we have talked about this in a few different ways. This is a daily podcast. You don't think we're ever going to recycle topics? There's a million different angles to talk about things, but this actually is a new one. However, we have talked about when you're doing impossible things. Are you facing impossible things? And the thing is that I can tell you is that you are every single day. Likely you are doing impossible things, facing impossible things. And sometimes phases of life ask you to do that more than others, where like you're looking at a situation, you're like, literally, this is an impossible choice. This is an impossible task. I'm being asked to do the impossible. So, what in your life have you or are you currently facing that feels impossible? I think for me, impossible can be used flippantly or it can be used honestly, truthfully. And I think both have their validity, where every single day, to be honest, right now, this is honest and very dramatic, but I've never for one day pretended to not be dramatic. So I'm nothing if not consistent. But every single day in my life right now feels impossible. That is so dramatic. And I have a very beautiful, privileged life. But the amount of things that I am trying to do in a day and the amount of relationships I'm trying to maintain, the competing values that I'm trying to align, every single day I kind of wake up and I'm like, okay, here we go. An impossible load. How are we meant to do this many things? How are we supposed to contain this many multitudes, be this many people? And I think you might relate to that. And then at the end of every day, the thing is, you get done what you get done in a day and the world keeps spinning. So you either get it done or you're done and the world keeps going on. So that's an important perspective to remember. But every day feels a little bit impossible at the moment. And then I think back to grief, early grief, and still grief waves where it's like, oh no, you're really being asked to do the impossible, like to carry on, to keep going after such tragedy and trauma. That's not possible. That feels impossible. Or maybe you're given a decision where like it feels impossible. Living in our world right now, right? Like the political climate, the awful, I mean, it's bad. Things are bad out there. And the thing is that we're not special. And I mean that in the kindest, most loving way. We're all special, and so nobody's special. But it's easy to take whatever circumstances you're facing or dealing with and think, this is the worst anyone's ever had it. When actually humans have been facing this and worse for all of history. And it's just kind of the human experience. And again, don't mean that dismissively or like flippantly of just like, who cares? Everybody suffers. But a little bit, sometimes I think it's good to remember that perspective. Anyway, in the spirit of not dismissing your suffering, but helping us all feel like we're not the first people to face impossible things, I was thinking back. I think someone said it in church, and I'm taking someone else's content, but they don't have a podcast, and I do, so I'm going to say it out loud. I actually think it was my neighbor, Julie, who said it. It was either my neighbor, Julie, or my neighbor, Joni, and they're both wise, wise women that teach me every day. And so I'm going to, either one of them could have said it, and I want to give credit where credit is due. They're both just like the wisest women. So if this was you, Julie, or you, Joni, I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but it was one of you. But we were talking about dissonance at church and like what to do with dissonance. And one of them said, we've been given impossible choices from the beginning. And she brought up Eve's choice to eat the fruit or not. That was an impossible choice. The consequences of that choice affected all of mankind. She was given an impossible choice. She was divinely given an impossible choice, which led to the heaviest task, arguably, in all of the history of man. So obviously, that was given to a woman because women are asked to do the impossible, specifically. Men are too. But so much of like pregnancy and birth and being a woman and even just menstruating, like so much of womanhood specifically seems like we're consistently being asked to do the impossible and then to do more while doing the impossible. And it's really, really inspiring to watch women's resilience and perseverance and capabilities rise to the occasion. But all this is a lot of preamble to say Eve was given an impossible decision by God. She was divinely given an impossible choice to make. And so, for one, look to our mothers. Look to our divine mothers. Look to our maternal lines. Look to the women before us. Look to your wise neighbors, Julie and Joni, of how many women before us have been asked to do the impossible and have been divinely given impossible tasks of loss, of dissonance, of challenges, of heartbreak, highly consequential, impossible tasks divinely given by God. So if God gives impossible tasks, then it must be for a purpose. And it must not actually be impossible, but from our perspective, it is. I just really like that thought of Eve was given an impossible decision by God, an impossible task by God. So sometimes these impossible things in our life we can use as evidence that there is no God or that God does not know us or does not care about us or does not love us. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. So there might be divinity in the very thing that you think is the evidence that there's not. So when you're looking for divinity today, maybe look in the place where you least suspect to find it, because the thing that you're using as the evidence of God not knowing you and not loving you actually could be the place that you find him knowing you and loving you and supporting you. I don't know, something to think about. Eve was given an impossible task by God. What does that mean for you? Think on it. I don't know. I've been thinking about it all week, what that means for me. And I think that it is evidence of God's trust in us and in our humanity, the very thing that feels limiting. That's kind of beautiful. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Love you so much. Have a good day.